And so all of those things, I think, come to play when we're talking about these kinds of standards. Same thing with the open counter at your front desk.
What that means to an employee that feels like we're growing. They're growing and they're developing and they're experiencing progress in their life. And so it's amazing when you give a book like that and you decide to use it as a background for teaching and conversation.
What they do differently than anybody else, other than providing a nice room and a reasonable price, is when you look closely at some of the photos, there's off to the side a red phone. Hey everybody, and welcome to Free Range Vision. I'm Matt Jensen alongside Dr. Vance Thompson. And for nearly 2 decades, we've been pioneering in practice, business, and team leadership. We'll cover everything from the pivotal lessons we've learned to the formidable challenges we've overcome and sometimes lost to, providing you with the essential tools to steer your journey and empower your team as you venture together. So whether you're at the helm of a practice or simply striving to cultivate a stronger culture, well, you found your flock. Let's venture off the beaten path together. Welcome to Free Range Vision. Hi, everybody. I'm Matt Jensen, and welcome back to Free Range Vision. I'm here with my friend and colleague, Dr. Vance Thompson, and today we're going to be talking about how we can learn more from other industries, not in healthcare, to inspire new ways to treat people within our space. We've said before on the pod that if we take ideas from another competitor down the street, well, maybe we're thieves. But if we take ideas from other industries, well, we're innovators. And boy, we've done a lot of innovating over the years, Vance.
Yes. Well, I think mainly because we love what we do and we want to touch people's lives deeply so that when we're touched by another industry, we're like, wow.
I wonder if we can do that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. And we also like the idea of finding these little secrets. Kind of, we read the book Secret Service, and we read it as a team every year from our friend John DeJulius. And by the way, required reading at Vance Thompson Vision.
Yes.
If you're out there listening and you haven't read it, first you listen or read it as a leader in your organization. But then it's a great book to work through with your team on all the standards we're talking about today.
By the way, we're reading Secret Service right now, and I got a text today from someone at our Billings, Montana location, literally teary-eyed through the text, how she had worked at another job for 20 years before joining us, and how reading through this book and the fact that we, have breakout sessions with the team and do the huddles and do the education centered around the book, and how much, like she said, time and effort we put into helping them understand how to better serve each other, as teammates, which leads to serving better the patient. Some businesses we call it a customer.
Mm-hmm.
In our business, it's a patient, and what that means to an employee that feels like we're growing. They're growing and they're developing and they're experiencing progress in their life. And so it's amazing when you give a book like that and you decide to use it as a background for teaching and conversation, the impact it can have on your team's professional satisfaction.
Well, and it's like that for us everywhere. When you experience something that is you focused, and especially if it's out of context, it really catches you off guard in a positive way. Right. So you think of customer service in the hospitality world, and you think of what a hotel might really notice about you, or what a very good server, a professional server at a nice restaurant might notice, and all the cues that they'll give their team that are known or unknown. But in healthcare, ideas like that are pretty unfounded. And so it's been so fun to think of ways to be creative and apply some of those things that came from
from those other categories to benefit not only our patients, our patient customers, because you brought up the word customer, but also our team.
I actually love it when other businesses come into our practice and experience healthcare, and they take an idea they actually learned in healthcare to incorporate into their business.
Oh, that's awesome. A reverse.
I mean,
it's like the reverse card in Uno.
Yes,
Nice.
exactly. But it didn't used to be that way because
Yeah.
medicine has developed some, in my opinion, some traditions that aren't in the best interests of doctor joy, employee staff joy,
Yeah.
or definitely patient experience. And it's just such a wonderful, profession to be in. It's a missed opportunity if you don't take some of these things that other businesses teach about touching lives another way and incorporate them because it just makes the practice of medicine so much more fun.
Yeah, and listen, we want healthcare to be antiseptic, right? But it doesn't have to. I mean, especially in the clinic and surgical environment, from a literal standpoint. But it doesn't need to spill out into the atrium, right? I
Right.
mean, that's where we want warmth and welcoming, and especially for team camaraderie, etc. Well, Vance, we're going to start to go back and forth on some examples that people can learn from. I'm going to go way back into my training. And this is something that I see now that other businesses do. Like, for example, Chick-fil-A. When you go through their drive-through now, they've extended the ordering way out before the signage that has the microphone and speaker in it, way out in front of that by putting a person out there with an iPad. And so the experience begins way before the experience might normally begin. And it puts people out there in front of their customers and kind of removes barriers. And I remember when your friend and colleague and just one amazing person, he just won an award at the Winter ACOS, Robert Maloney.
Yeah.
You had me go visit his practice
Right.
when we first started. It was probably 2004. And Robert Maloney is just a phenomenal surgeon, ton of research, great reputation, and also
A great thinker.
just a great thinker, right? And he shared with me a CD that he sends his refractive patients at the time. I'm sure it doesn't happen anymore because who has CDs? But he would send it to them before their surgery and would say, hey, listen to this on your way to the office today. And it was light music behind his calming voice talking about what they're about to experience. And he knows there's nerves, but I just want you to know that I've done this my whole career and I am so ready for you today. And just talk about the confidence in his investment in technology. And it was just at a point where there could be a lot of nerves. And well before an experience might start, he was cueing the patient and already giving them what you call verbal anesthesia.
I have a name also for that. The pre-experience.
The pre-experience. Nice.
But it's I find that the more anxious someone is, or they're about ready to learn, and you combine learning with anxiety, and there can be more forgetting. The more you prepare them with a pre-experience, the better they are prepared for the experience.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I like to do that even in my personal life, right? To try to figure out how can we, if this is an event that we've been thinking about and preparing for, how do we have some fun and make some memories, doing something early, like a pre-event,
Right.
pre-show, and also something afterwards. You send your friends that you went to a concert with the photos from the concert or some memorabilia that you purchased just for them that they didn't pick up for themselves afterwards that says, hey, I remember how good a time we had together, and I hope you remember too.
I think this is a little bit different than tailgating before the football game, right?
Well, I was hoping you weren't going to go there, but yeah, it's basically tailgating. Yeah. Vance, what other examples do you have of learning from other industries?
The luxury hotel business, one of the things that fascinates me about them is thinking about what I want before I realize, what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this platinum rule, the golden rule, treat me, uh, so the golden rule would be, I would treat you the way you want to be. The the golden rule would be the way I'll treat you the way I want to be treated. But the platinum rule is I want to treat you the way you want to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
And so this idea in luxury hotels of when you walk in and you maybe feel a little bit potential for a transactional moment, and you get that smile and eye contact at some hotels, and even when it's time for that key and to tell you where the elevator is or whatever, they come around the desk
Mm-hmm.
and remove that barrier. It's like, whoa, this is different than what I've experienced at a lot of hotels. How do we take that and turn that into a different experience in our atrium, where people come in with anxiety, and that's been a fun one that we've incorporated, or working in a restaurant where the tables are numbered. And this was one of our staff members who thought of it, that why don't we do that with the chairs in the waiting room, and have a map, and so we know who's where, versus having to just go out and blurt a name. We can
Mm-hmm.
walk right up to them and give them chairside service, just like a waiter or would give you table side service. And so taking these ideas has been really, really helpful. And one of them that I think has been probably one of the more profound impacts, because like I said, I love the idea of trying to think or heading worry off at the pass.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you think about someone's pre-experience, like you just talked about, coming to an appointment, well, we've recorded videos that are trying to think of the things that they might be a little anxious about, to lessen that anxiety. Or they've went home after the experience, and we don't tell them all these videos are going to show up, and so, or it's a little bit before surgery, so those videos show up, or it's they've had the surgery, and that evening they're worried about the blur, and they're not really remembering the pupils dilated,
Right.
and there may be issues that you just don't need to worry about, and just on and on and on. It amazes me how impactful whatever the issue is someone may experience on a relatively regular basis in your practice or your business, to think about hardwiring your education to preempt that, and what that means to them. And that's what I mean by heading worry off at the pass.
Yeah, I really like that, Vance. And as you say that, I'm reminded that the tool is one thing. So the map of the atrium and where people are sitting, tool. And then it's given power then by the team members' interaction with it. Same thing with the videos. It's a tool. Your team has to be prompted to do something with that, send it at the right time, ask about it, make sure they saw it, because it's the interacting around the tools that makes it valuable. For example, the atrium map is a really good depiction of, what we're trying to accomplish. One, we want them to feel like it's tableside. We want them to feel known, because they've already given their name several times in the experience, on the phone, when they checked in. And so we have the benefit of the doubt of knowing where they are. And all we need is one little cue from the front desk, and they can tell us exactly what seat number they're in, what spot. And so we can walk right up to them, come down to eye level, touch their shoulder, say, "Hi, Vance, I'm Matt. Come with me. We're ready for you in the back," right? Something like that. But it's not powerful without the cue from the team, and then the choreography of how we want team members to interact with them.
Right.
Eye level, human touch, give use their preferred name, give them your preferred name,
Right.
right? And so all of those things, I think, come to play when we're talking about these kinds of standards. Same thing with the open counter at your front desk. Choreography about coming around and kind of coming out to service them. We've all been to hotels where somebody has done that. They come around the counter and they give you your room key. They hold it, by the way. If you can't see me, I'm holding like the room key on both corners, right? And I'm handing it out with both hands. They give kind of a almost head bow when they're giving it to you, like it's an honor. Like it's an honor. It's an honor to give this to you.
Yeah.
Here's your room key. You're in 537.
Yeah.
And you just think about all of the architecture that makes that happen so well is frankly the easiest part.
Yeah.
Because we've seen other brands, hotels, do that, but the team member is still just on their phone looking at the screen and not coming around with the key and not, taking advantage of the architecture that's supposed to be set up to make them more approachable.
Right.
So the human component is such an important part of all these things we're learning from other industries. Smell's another one. We learn this in hotels now all the time. You can't find a hotel that doesn't have some kind of scent being pumped through there, but that was a novelty, 10, 15 years ago. And we know of hotels where all of the staff wears the same perfume or cologne rather than the place itself having the scent, the team, so there's all kinds of ways to theme things, pull people together, for a certain end. But I think that we can learn a lot from those industries.
Tell you an experience I had the other day and see what you think? So I had just landed in San Diego and I went to a boutique hotel and they did all that. And they came around and they showed me the key just like that. And it was so good. And they said, "Is there anything else that I can do to help you?" And smile and eye contact. I go, "No." And then they spread their arms and they gave me a huge hug.
Are you serious?
No.
Oh my goodness, Vance. Because I was like, how did they know that about you? You're the only person on earth who doesn't know how to handshake, and they read that on you? Like, that's so great.
But you got to do.
You had me. You had me.
No, but it is fun figuring out what people truly want and not taking it too far. I mean,
but I thought, wow, okay, going for it. I love it. I'm going to share a couple more examples that I think are really, really helpful. We have learned from, again, there's a lot from hotels,
right?
Because they're just known for hospitality.
Well, it's home away from home.
That's right. The one I'm referring to is Magic Castle Hotel, which was featured in the book The Power of Moments by the Heath brothers, which, by the way, I love this book, and a lot of your leadership team has read it. It is a lot like the experience economy. The experience economy is kind of the functional framework as to how that economy works with experience design. The Power of Moments is a bunch of great examples of how it has worked in business without maybe getting too much into the academia part.
Right.
Magic Castle Hotel is in LA. At the time of printing of Power of Moments, it was the #1 hotel listed on TripAdvisor. Average cost per night was $160 to $200. Not an amazingly priced, highly priced hotel. And when you look at the pictures online, it looks like an apartment complex. It's got kind of a center courtyard. It's got air conditioners coming out the windows. It's painted canary yellow. And you're thinking, I don't get it. The pool in the middle is like, 20 feet by, 40 feet, no deep end. And you're thinking, what is it about this place where it's the #1 rated hotel in all of LA? I think today it's slipped to between 10 and 12, but our listeners are going to have to check out what it's like on their day, on their own. But what they do differently than anybody else, other than providing a nice room and a reasonable price, is when you look closely at some of the photos, there's off to the side a red phone. and the red phone has a little sign above it that says popsicle hotline. And when kids or other people pick up the phone, somebody on the other end says popsicle hotline. Would you like grape, orange, or cherry? And they say what kind they'd like, and somebody comes out with a popsicle on a tray and to give it to them poolside. That's it. That's the only differentiator. And it's so remarkable, so out of place that people find it to be just utterly enjoyable. And, so I just think, in case you're racking your brain on what would we have to do differently, you don't have to do much. I'm not saying you should have popsicles, but you'd be surprised what just a little something would do. And it would get your team engaged to, do something special for your clientele.
Right. That's beautiful, Matt. And one of the things that you taught me not too long ago, because I believe we talked about it on the podcast, was people really value making their lives easier and answering their needs. And so when you think about that in your business and you map out your patient experience cycle, your customer experience cycle, and every step of the way, you prepare them and with what your particular specialty is, and you deliver whatever you deliver in your business. You want to do all that really well. But when you add in some of these special things on top, that's where it really goes next level. And it's amazing what it does for, I have patients today who were grabbing my arm with misty eyes after their cataract surgery saying, how do you find people like this?
That's it.
I just feel so special and, how, I was cared for here. And then, there's something in addition, like the fresh, baked cookie smell and a fresh cookie right after surgery or whatever. And so when you're thinking about all these ways to touch lives, it not only makes it enjoyable to do it, but it's amazing what it does to grow your business.
Yeah. And what it brings out in the team, right? You think of that same company, the same hotel, Magic Castle Hotel. The person on the other end of the line could work at any hotel.
Right.
But for whatever reason, they're happy that they're the number one, rated hotel in LA. Now, how joyfully do you think they pick up that hotline?
Right.
Right? Just pumped to go out there and either give the 77-year-old or the 8-year-old that grape popsicle. It makes their day, but it makes the team members' day too, because this is something they don't get to do in any other craft or profession.
I got to tell you, Matt, not only is that all true, but when you decide you want to go on that journey of improving upon your, team culture, patient experience, it's like you've kind of taken on an assignment that is forever, something that you'll never be fully satisfied with, but almost joyfully not satisfied, because you like going into situations like that and recognizing those things that, you may want to incorporate into your practice.
Yeah, right. And then you also just enjoy doing it.
And then you go work on it and you enjoy doing it.
Yep. So that it's addictive and it feels good. By the way, it's also, you and I have a similar core belief system. It's also, the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Treat people a certain way.
And does a joyful dissatisfaction make sense? Meaning you're not satisfied ever, but you're very highly attracted to the journey of constantly improving and evolving your experience.
Yeah.
Probably a more positive way
yeah,
to say.
maybe like a discontentment maybe, or like a restlessness, right, to doing the right thing because you want to, hold people close. I got to tell you, Vance, I have become, I think, pretty good at reading you. You had me in that hotel in San Diego with that. I bought into that hook, line, and sinker.
Oh, wow, they crossed the line.
I was like,
but
wow,
they did it
how
with the
did
right
they
guy?
know that Vance would be so responsive to that? Listen, everybody, I appreciate you listening to our podcast, and we find it encouraging to just talk through some of the things we've built together, and we hope that you do too. If you find people who you think should have their day brightened by some of the stories we're telling, we hope you share this podcast with them. And until our next one, Vance, sure love you.
Yeah, I love you too, Matt. Thank you.